Artist Exchange,
the Artist Exchange, the Artist Exchange, the Artist Exchange,
the Artist Exchange,
Artist Exchange,
the Artist Exchange, the Artist Exchange, the Artist Exchange,
the Artist Exchange,
Artist Exchange,
the Artist Exchange, the Artist Exchange, the Artist Exchange.
Artist Exchange,
the Artist Exchange, the Artist Exchange, the Artist Exchange,
the Artist Exchange,
Artist Exchange,
the Artist Exchange, the Artist Exchange, the Artist Exchange,
the Artist Exchange,
Artist Exchange,
the Artist Exchange, the Artist Exchange, the Artist Exchange.
Artist Exchange,
the Artist Exchange, the Artist Exchange, the Artist Exchange,
the Artist Exchange,
Artist Exchange.
The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange.
The Artist Exchange.
Artist Exchange.
The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange.
Good morning, guys. Welcome to another episode of I.Am.She. Hope everyone's weekend went good. Mine was, it was okay. I had a lot going on. My birthday celebration was awesome.
And it's still not over. We still Gemini season.
It was awesome. It was a lot going on. I had a really good time. I wish it would have lasted a little bit longer. I was like, I feel like next year I just want to take a whole week vacation, a whole week, just celebrating my
Where
birthday.
to?
Because the weekend, I don't know. I feel like I just want to do a cruise. I want to try a cruise, maybe. Just something different, just to give. I feel like a weekend is just, even though I was there from Friday to Sunday, it just still didn't feel like it was just enough.
Now, is
Like,
this an adult cruise or this is a Disney cruise? What are
an
we?
adult cruise. I don't take them kids for my birthday.
Okay, okay. So
That's
we
like
can
my
we can
Mother's
play
Day.
a Gemini excursions in.
Right. That's like my Mother's Day. My birthday is
Exactly.
my Mother's Day.
You know what? That's the one thing I'm not gonna say I don't like about being a May birthday haver. I always feel like I have to treat all the women in my life before I treat myself.
What?
Because my birthday is like a couple weeks right after Mother's Day.
Well, after Mother's Day, right. Right.
So I
Well,
always gotta feel like I gotta give you a gift and then you go give me a gift back.
right.
Like that's the only thing I don't like about May having a May birthday.
Right. You know, my issue is, and I don't know if I'm just being selfish, but it's like when you go
I
on
think you gotta
Facebook.
turn your volume up a little bit. It was a little low.
Can you hear me better?
Yeah, that's better.
All right. My issue is, and it seems selfish of me. I don't know. I'm just not a social media person like I used to be. So for me, it's like you have so many friends on your social media, and then when you just happen to pop up on there, and it's like, oh, it's my birthday, then I feel like almost obligated. Like, I don't know who the hell you are. I just have to say happy birthday.
I do. You know why I do it? Well, for a long time, it was part of my promotion for my show. Like I would say happy. I had like a little post, a post that I would post, and then when people birthdays would pop up, I would put like happy birthday from the Artist Exchange. Like I used to do that a lot, especially the people that follow me. But
Right,
now that Facebook is so on it in ter- in terms, because there's people whose birthdays you would have never known about that
right,
come up and pop up because of the algorithm in Facebook. So I just do it just to do it. But this was the first year that I allowed people to do it to me. Like
right,
open my page. And when I say it was flooded with tons, I know a ton of artists and all that. All those people sent me messages. But then all these people who I'm like, you on my page? Why are you on my page? But
right.
there's just a lot of people who, and it's people who not even on your page. Some people go by that because it pops up on your
Right.
feed every day. So, or at least on mine, it does.
No, it's crazy because, and that was my reaction, because there was like so many people that I didn't even know was on my business page. That
Yeah.
on my personal page. So if you don't look at I.Am.She Podcast and you really don't pay attention, you don't know what my name is. You know what I'm saying? Like I
Hmm.
post on my personal page and my business page. But for my business page, you have to actually know my podcast name. And I know a lot of them people don't watch this daggone podcast, but it was like they came and
You
literally.
don't know though. You don't, because I think certain people count. Like certain
Mhm.
people count. So a lot of those people are just followers. People can follow your page without being a friend on your page.
Oh,
So
okay.
a lot of those people who, and I think certain things count as a view. Like if
Mhm.
they're not friends with you, but they follow you, that may count as a view. But if they're not friends with you, I think the algorithm is all. But a lot of those people follow you, and you don't even know it. When I say I can see the numbers jump at times on here, and you never know who may be watching.
Watching, right.
And you typically share out the YouTube link. So that's
Yeah.
a whole nother animal of people that you don't know
No,
faces.
watching. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I don't know. I'm just weird like that. Like, I'm like, I feel obligated. Like, I feel like they somehow know that I was on Instagram or Facebook. Like, I somehow know, they somehow know that I was on Facebook and scroll past their birthday, even though I don't know them. So I'm like, I'm just going to jump on here
But
and say
they,
happy
but
birthday.
you, and see, that's the part that you're gonna have to one get used to. One,
Right.
because you've been posting under the FMG brand,
Right.
and you're posting, so they see your name.
Right.
And then you have a couple members who are very faithful and watching the show that
Yeah.
also share out the show, or they're tagging themselves, or they'll like it and people see them. So you never know where people are coming from,
Yeah.
but
Right.
they are definitely watching. And now that you're doing a show, you're gonna have to get used to people like following you, and they may not like your page,
Right.
or like the show pages, or even friend request you personally, but they're still watching you.
Watching. Yeah. You so
So I, I'll be sharing in interesting places. So you never know who may be watching this show.
don't do that. I know a lot of people in Baltimore. I'm trying to avoid a lot of access.
Well, my first of all, my reach is further than Baltimore, DMV.
A lot.
I'm global, baby. This is a global brand. But speaking of a global brand, if you saw in the ad that was posted, like the video clip that was playing before, we have more shows that are be
Yeah,
starting
I saw that.
in the next couple months.
The
Well, not in
lineup.
the next couple months. In the next month, we have shows that'll be starting. On Mondays, we have the Pagami, and I know she go Pagama. She is an Ethiopian. Her name is oh my God, Mikana. It's just I'm tongue tied. Her name is Mikana, and the show is Pagama. It's an Ethiopian saying, and the show will be not just about Ethiopian culture, but the African diaspora across the board. She's a chef. She's a traveler. She does workshops, inspirational speaking. She's very corporate minded as well. So you'll see a cross section, and it's going to be like a lifestyle show.
Oh,
Right now, we're pre-recording some episodes that you'll be able to see. And it's an interesting take. So that show will air live on Mondays. Tuesdays we still have the and that show will be premiering July the 8th on this channel. And then on Tuesdays, we still have the podcast with myself and G. Oliver,
oh,
Binge Worthy Podcast. That will be coming back also in July, where we interview and we talk about movies and music and all types of cultural events. And we give our opinions and how it pertains to our culture. And we just review a lot of things. We started out reviewing movies. Now we're doing TV and music and theater and so on and so forth.
oh.
And then Wednesdays, I'll be coming back with my show, The Artist Exchange, in July. It's just I needed a break. I needed I needed a pause. And yeah, so we'll be coming back on Wednesdays at 8 o'clock.
I'm starting to feel that way. I'm starting to feel like I just need just like a mental break. Like I just really just feel like it's so much going on. I just need a mental break.
Well, y'all take y'all mental break in July when the other shows come on. Because y'all been holding it down right now the last 2 months
Right.
by yourselves. But yeah, I understand that. And to think about me, prior to December, I don't take breaks from my show.
Right.
And I have been doing that show for almost 10 years. And I would be in a studio where it was raining,
That's
sleet,
me though.
hail,
That's me.
thunderstorms,
David
blizzards.
so angry. Like he gets so angry. Like it's your birthday. I'm like, but it was only an hour. It's fine. I had fun. It wasn't that bad. And he's like,
Hmm.
but you don't take time off. I'm like, but it's okay. I'm
Yeah.
fine. But I'm like, now I think I understand what he's saying because like yesterday, I was just in a really bad space. But it's crazy because I had a very good day. Like I woke up, me and Jim went
Hmm.
to Walmart and got the food because he wants something like special for Father's Day to eat. So me and Gemma woke up, we went to Walmart, we got the food, and then my mother said she was gonna cook on the grill anyway. I came back. I kind of did
I'm
like,
just gonna pop
kind of
up on y'all because y'all be eating. I feel like y'all always got leftovers from some
we
party
did,
in the refrigerator. I'm
we
looking for y'all can be like, Nate, when did you get here? Oh, it don't matter. Warm it up.
She asked though, she's like, where is he gonna be at? When is he? She like just randomly just asked me like every so often, like, when you say he
I'm
coming back,
coming.
when is
Life
he?
just changed this year, and I really had to make some hard decisions about being a school teacher. And I'll tell you about some stuff offline, but
Right.
I just had to make some hard decisions for me,
Right.
my circle, people around me, and I'm not willing to anybody around me. I'm gonna make you work because
Right.
I'm gonna work just as hard, if
You
not harder, and I just require that around me. And I'm not on slave time, but definitely we have to. A lot of us want to do things, and you and I are now 40, so that feels different.
it
And I'm
does.
telling you,
You
the
was
next
right.
couple weeks are gonna feel. You gonna have some real high days. You gonna have some real low days.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Hmm.
Yesterday, it wasn't anything necessary.
Nope.
It was nothing. Like I had a good, like I said, I took the kids out. I let them pick out their Father's Day gift. I came back and it's just like I was good all day. And then like by the afternoon, I want to say maybe like
Hmm.
around 4 or 5 o'clock, my whole energy just shifted. And I'm like, what is going on? Like I
So
had
two,
a good day.
so
Nothing.
two things, real quick. Two things. One, this show is a lot, and I don't think you or and I'm not Black Roses, but Black Roses will be back next week.
Oh yeah, she
Um,
will be back next week. Yeah, I forgot to say
but
that because I was like, where's
I don't
she
want
at?
them to think we fired her or something.
I didn't even think to say that.
But it really,
We did because
for
of her
one
smart
thing,
mouth.
the
I got
show is a lot. So I used to do my show for over. At that point, I think I did that for over 7 years. Every Friday at 7 o'clock, every Saturday at 12 o'clock. For years, I did that. And when I say every Thursday, I would feel this sinking feeling like, because you have to rev up the energy for something like that.
Mhm.
Even if you're not doing your best, it takes a lot of energy out of you.
It does.
But because it is part of your passion and part of your mission in terms of expanding your brand and working for you, there's an obligation that sits in your stomach. I know for me, I don't like quitting. I don't like
Right.
starting something and not
And
finishing.
not finishing. Right. Is that
Hmm.
just a thing?
I think it may be. I really do. And like I get a sickening feeling when I have like I just quit a production that I've been working on for like a month and a half. And I really it's easier for me now, especially when it's not a space that I should be in and I'm
Mhm.
doing it one for money or I'm doing a favor for somebody. It takes nothing out of me anymore to say no, it's not working for me,
Right.
but I don't like quitting still.
Right.
And then the other part is you're not really where you want to be
Right.
in terms of career and doing business for you. And that's not a bad thing, but because of that, and that's a part of the Gemini thing too. We are creative energies and we always coming up with ideas. And sometimes our mind is working
It
when we're just
overtime.
resting. Say it again.
Overtime. I said,
Hmm.
overtime. Like
Yeah.
your mind is just it's like so much you want to do. You right. It's like so much I'm
Hmm.
just trying to wrap around. And that's what I told David last night. I said, it's not anything like to really pinpoint because he kept saying, do you want to talk about it? You want me to come out there and talk? I'm like, I can't talk about anything because I don't have anything necessarily like to pinpoint to say, hey, this is what's going on with me. It's just my mind. It's just with so many different things. And
Mm-hmm.
like now, um FMG is really starting to pick back up. Like we took some time off and now we're starting to pick back up. And now like yes, like yesterday we got the message, about Chris, about BlackRoses not being, and then right after that it was like my one of the artists called and was like, hey, I got this, I need to do this, I gotta get these beats, I'm gotta go to the studio tomorrow. And then the other managers like, I got this,
Right.
and I still got to try to figure this out now with the show because I have to process and mentally prepare myself for tomorrow. Like it was just like
But
it
it,
was
it it works out like that. And one of the things is you have to understand as a Gemini, you cannot do everything by yourself.
I
I know
know,
they say we have multiple personalities,
I
but
know,
only one can work at a time.
I
Uh,
know.
so just understanding right now is your planning season, and you have to write. I'm a big list taker. Like I like to write lists and bullet points and begin to just check stuff off and prioritize what's important. There's some things that I want to do right now, but because I still have to get the website up and running, because I'm trying to have a certain amount of shows on the station, so there's income coming up, so we can afford to just pop up in Florida when we feel like it and do the show from Florida. So there are things that I want to work on, but there are things that have to happen for that to happen. And sometimes it can be very overwhelming and
It is.
very like talking to you is like when I talk to I call her my twin cousin. There's no incest going on, but we just have the same. Literally, I was born that morning, she was born that afternoon. So it sometimes talking to people who are like minded can reflect and mirror. My mind is always going. 2 o'clock in the morning. You know my tool now. I use Canva, and
Yeah.
every idea that I have, I either write something in my little notepad on my phone, or
Hmm.
I create a flyer for something that I haven't even done yet, or
I
just to
should.
get so I can see it in front of me, so it
Hmm.
is real and I can manifest that. For me, I need to see tangible, concrete things in front of me.
Oh my
I
God.
can't just think off of hope and faith. I need to see something.
You
So if
are
I make
call,
a flyer for something, it's gonna make me do it.
you are calling it out. You are calling everything out.
It
Like it's just
hmm But that's just that's the I think that's our nature.
right.
That's our nature, and that's right now I've been feeling this yearning to have a team and build with people, and I stopped looking for people, and like it's certain individuals just pop into my space
Hmm.
because I'm still in the mode of planning and just putting my dreams out there. And some people think I'm weird, and I know that's why certain people don't support me because they just see me just trying things, and I don't. Everything now is with a purpose. Like even with the show,
Right.
and me looking with the show. So to get back to the lineup to explain this, so Thursdays we have a hot and spicy show. That's what I'm gonna label it as, but it's strictly towards men. This show
Mhm.
will only broadcast on Twitter because we can get away with a lot of stuff.
The topics. Okay.
Now, if you saw the image, we're kind of putting sex first, but it's
Mhm.
more sex positivity for men only.
Ooh.
And I've been meeting a lot of like sex workers, and not what we think sex workers are, like escorts and prostitutes, but men have begun to use these platforms and they selling sex. They are selling body,
Bodies. That's what I agree say.
they
Bodies.
sell it, and I'm not even looking at it in a negative way, but you can go on Twitter where you used to see all women doing that. Now you don't even really see the women unless they joining in with them to
Right.
get their kinks off. And I started another. We are the business starting people uh, on adult parties, and not just sex parties and stuff like that, but like excursions, adult excursions. You can get your freak on. That we may do a toy party or a kickback or something like that, or it may be a sex party. You never know. But in
Right.
me putting that out and promoting that, so many people have been like, tagging me. I had to start another Twitter page because I didn't want that connected really directly to this. One, because I still work with children, so I want to keep the line of demarcation
Right.
clearly drawn. But
Right.
yeah, so that show will come on Thursday, starting in July as well, and it's really gonna be. You gonna think it's all about sex. You gonna see some sexual kinks and fetishes and all that, and anybody can watch it. But I want the conversation to be around men and their thoughts, and just creating that safe space for men to be able to share. I've had a
That's
lot
great.
of people since I started that page start sharing stuff with me, and not just sexual stuff, but they'll share that and I'll start
Just to be
interviewing
open,
them.
just as
Right.
a man to be open. It seems like
hmm
a lot of men aren't that comfortable with just being, as
We haven't been
open
allowed
and
to.
explicit. Just tell me.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. Just tell me. Tell me
And
what
we
your
have,
fetish is.
and for you, if, now that you're married, I'm sure you are getting to a space where he may be open and comfortable coming to you now, because
Right.
it's still, and it's not a knock to black women, but black women have not allowed men to really be as vulnerable as we did, because we have also vulnerability as a weakness, and nobody wants somebody weak around them, especially when that person, you want that person to protect you.
Right.
So, but we have to redefine a lot of these words that have gotten us into a space of condemning people and putting people in boxes. But that's our topics for today.
Right.
Friday, there's a show that I brought onto my previous station that I am now bringing onto this station, and it's called the Cocktail Social. I don't think you've ever met Blue, but Blue Borders is a character. And he has this thing for bars and conversation, and he's a therapist in real life,
Oh,
but he's a character in real life also. So that show will be coming on Friday evenings. And then, of course, we round out the week on Saturdays with the I.Am.She Podcast.
okay.
So that's where we're going. I'm still looking for new shows. So if you are listening and you want your show on this station, I'm definitely keeping that door open. Eventually, we're gonna have to hire some engineers because Nate can't do all this by himself. So that's my goal. And then I'm transitioning into work mode for the summer. I do a lot of summer camps,
Yeah.
and so that's where I'm going. And even that, I've had to look at different. So um, yeah, we gonna talk so we can get some stuff streamlined, and people, the types of teams that I'm looking to build is not even about we're all doing my project. It's really figuring out ways, more so accountability circles. That's the type of
Right.
team. And when you think of, like, especially some big projects or big things that have been created, when you go to the root of it, it was a team of people and people who had their own skill sets that came together and shared in a mission. And you start seeing great things, but we have gotten so far away from it because we don't want to shout bag with anybody, and we
Right.
have to get out of
That's
that
a true
that
story.
mindset. I have a project that's coming up in October. I've been asked to do a project for Black Gay Pride, and I've never associated myself really directly with gay anything because it's
Mhm.
just not my. Uh, I'm not gonna say not my comfort zone, but it's just not my. I don't. The lifestyle is not my lifestyle.
Right.
So, but I'm figuring out a way to support people. So we'll be doing a skate party for Black Pride. And if you don't know, this month is Pride Month around the world, but in October, many Black organizations support Black, gay, LGBTQ plus individuals as well. So this is that'll be Black Pride here in Baltimore as well, and I'm doing that skate party, and we're honoring a few people who have been pioneers in the arts and culture and LGBT community. And I can say the one person that will be honored will be Miss Tony. Um,
Okay.
she's a and if you're from Baltimore, lived here, you know who Miss Tony is.
Yeah.
But Miss Tony, uh, unfortunately, passed away years ago. But in that lifespan of a Miss Tony, that's why we have room for a Big Frida. If and there's a lady called Miss Sophia out of Atlanta. If had it not been for Miss Tony breaking into media and radio and broadcasting, those people would not have a space right
Oh,
now. And I can clearly say that. So that's one of the people we're honoring. And most people know her as Big Tony, but people don't realize they made her drop the miss in order to do radio. Because they
mhm.
felt like at that time in the 90s, it would be more comfortable for people to just think that this is a big flamboyant man versus, you know, a drag queen. So
Right.
but yeah, so that's coming up, and just the artist exchange and all the things that we're doing, we're all planning. And I sometimes go into hiding because sometimes when you work with a group, stuff can't get accomplished because everybody got their time restraints. So I like to just create stuff and then put the dates out there for people to be able to jump in. So
I'm
that is the
excited.
artist exchange, and we got some stuff coming up, and I'll be posting that shortly.
I'm excited. I am so excited.
Rain, rain, rain.
Okay.
So we're gonna get you up here. It's gonna be a night. It's gonna be a shake and bake. I didn't
Okay.
wanna the Black Arts District is co-sponsoring this along with the Black Pride organization here in Baltimore. And we've been given a nice little grant to be able to put on this event. And it's gonna be nice. So we're going to get you up here, you and moms up here,
She
get
might
your
not get a
steak.
shake, but I can come.
She gonna come to Shake and Bake.
I'll
It's gonna
bring.
be nice. The
I'll.
city, the city operates Shake and Bake now, and it's
Okay.
a day party. It's a day party. It's not a.
Oh, okay. I'll bring Jessica with me. Jessica is a skater. She actually has her own skating page. She's like one of those skaters that be doing the
Oh
twist, turn,
well,
jump,
okay.
shake, the move,
And
spin, and all that
she a
stuff.
oh, so she's a performer now. Okay,
Right. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Send her my
She'll definitely.
information because I'm looking for performers now.
Okay. I will
See
definitely
how things work. You just gotta put it out there. You never know.
put it out.
I
That's
would
what
have
you
never known that
tell
she
me. You
was a
started
skater.
off like that. She is. She actually has. She has an artist page and she has a skating page.
Okay.
So kind of does both. And she, she actually just went down there last month just to, get back with her skating team. And she
Mm-hmm.
actually bought a skate team to the family reunion last year, and they did like a little skate performance. And then Jessica came back out and did like they did the musical performance.
She's just a performer, just all the way around.
She is very, very talented, and a lot of people still don't know like to the capacity when you say, "Oh, she does this," and it's like, "Oh yeah," and she does this, and it's like, "Wait a minute, I ain't know she even knew how to play drums." Like,
Is she a Gemini too?
no, she not. Her birthday is September the 10th. I don't know what that is.
I think that's the. Is that Air? No, that's not Aries.
That is
I think that's like a Leo, or
I can't remember. I know
I think
she
she might be a Leo.
but yeah, so I'll definitely let her know. I think that's because I've heard her speaking on the phone with her little skate team about doing some things at Shake and Bake. So I definitely think that she'll be willing to come down and support, and
We got a performer. We got our first performer.
I will definitely give her enough time that she will be
Mm-hmm.
prepared.
October Pride, and yes. So just definitely give her my information. But we are doing a show today. We do have some
Yes,
topics,
yes,
and
yes.
now KD has a number of hot topics that she has, and then we're gonna get into the show topics after
Right.
that. So it's on you now, Miss.
All right, so my first topic is a lot. Let's just start by saying that I've been on social media for the last 2 weeks. It has been so much going on. Like it's making my head spin. Like every time I get on social media, it's some crazy mess just going on. So let's start off with the biggest one. Since Sunday is Father's Day, I want to start off with the biggest one, the Father Day hype. I am really starting to see these videos go viral about Father's Day versus like the difference between Father's Day versus Mother's Day. These men is really getting upset with y'all because y'all playing in their face. Like, y'all is really playing in their face. I remember a time when Father's Day, when I remember a time it used to be on around Father's Day and to the events coming into Father's Day, where it was always the whole thing about the guys just upset because the moms were kind of coming in and taking over, like Happy Father's Day to Happy Father's Day to me, and it was just a big old controversy because it's like, you are a female. I understand that you're a single parent and da 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 da. But at the same time, there's still things that you can't teach a man, a child, to become a man, because you just don't have that instinct. And so it's always been a battle on social media with that. Like, you keep saying you're a single mother, you take care of house, you take care of this. But there are certain things that you just cannot teach as a female to your son or to your child, not even your son, to your child, period. Because it's things that a father can teach a female too, that as a woman, as a parent, as a mother, you may not think of those situations because you haven't been put in those situations. So it's kind
Hmm.
of good to always have the point of view from both sides, because the father has different experiences, the mother has different experiences. And then the key goal is just to bring those experiences together and talk to your kids so they'll have these scenarios and be at least somewhat prepared and knowledgeable about if these scenarios ever come into play, as they grow into their adulthood. But
Hmm.
now the big battle has went and shifted from stop saying Happy Father's Day if you a single mother to I don't get nothing but a pair of socks. I don't get nothing.
Well, you know what? I think it's a tough subject because I grew up. My father died when I was in the second grade, so I grew up without a dad. Um, my father. I'm gonna say it that way. There were men in my life. My mother has 7 brothers. My father had one, two, 3 brothers. And none of them were, I'm being really honest, none of them were positive influences of my life. If they wasn't selling drugs or using drugs, they were in that college, away at college phase, where they were in and out of the penitentiary or the jail. And I don't bash them for that because there was given circumstances that led them to that where they did not have their fathers.
Right.
I know my mother lost her dad when she right before she had me. So that in of itself just shows that generational trauma that we keep having with dads. But the one thing that I did see, like I saw an uncle raising my cousin on his own, but he didn't take care of his other children, and he hardly took care of that child. So
Mm,
I saw men being fathers, but I also saw dysfunction in that where they may not have been very close to their children. I had a stepfather, my sister's father, which was different from my stepfather. You know, they helped my mother, but they weren't my stepfather who married my mother wasn't really connected to me. He related more to my little sister and the foster children that we eventually had. But for me, I feel like, he didn't really give that. When
right.
we talk about single moms, I always had an issue with that, especially if there was a father in the picture,
Mm-hmm.
because it paints a picture that it's her by herself. Um, and in many cases, some of those women chose that life.
Right.
And I say they chose it, not necessarily they chose to be by themselves, but they knew who they were laying down with. And I say, and it's the saying that I have is very vulgar, but in many cases, these two people wanted to fuck more than they wanted to raise a child.
Child.
And
Absolutely.
that the when you're getting, especially when we haven't really solved a lot of issues of the male side, and we put a lot of band-aids on even on the women's side, but we haven't dealt with it the way we should have dealt with it. So you have a lot of single parents. It's just very uncomfortable for me when I see women do that. When I
Yeah.
see women, want props for being you're not a father.
Yeah, that bothers me too.
You're
That really
not.
bothers me too. Not, I, not to say that I can't speak from that aspect because I haven't been in a single parent home. So not to say that
Hmm.
I can speak to that aspect, but from just just my own experience of parenting, To take that away and just say, like, I understand if you just feel like I'm not giving him his Father's Day props. He ain't called in the month of Sundays or whatever. But to actually blatantly go out and put it out there, like Happy Father's Day to myself, like to make jokes about it. It's kind of bothersome to
Because
me.
guess who get hurt at the end of the day?
The
That
child,
child. The
right?
child. That
It's
child gets, because there's an unrealistic expectation that you're putting on them. And guess what they then grow up and do? They then begin to attract men that they have to then treat like that.
right.
You're
And
not
then the
showing
second,
them how to effectively deal with it.
right, and that's and then the second thing is like, are you having these open conversations, or are you just assuming that your child is okay because you handle everything of a male and a female, because you feel or think that you're handling everything of a male and a female role within the home? Are you having these conversations to even see if your kids are okay, or if they like the way
Nope.
that you are projecting it on social media? Like, I got this, my child don't need nothing. But are you asking your child,
No.
baby, do
Their
you
pride is a
need?
lot of pride. And now we see this wave of dads that are fighting for custody, that
Abs-
are some of them not healthy. I have a couple friends and people I know where the dad is kind of reversing the roles, but they're weaponizing it, as women have been said to weaponize it. And you see a lot of those fathers stepping up. They may not necessarily want to be a father in the way that they are being a father, but because it hurts the mother, I'm a hurt her. Then you
right,
see the Dwayne Wades of the world who are stepping up and being so off the script with what we expect from dads. And it is really unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. And it has been, being honest, it has been a trigger for me because I never really had men in my life that were positive influences on me. And then when I did get those types of mentors, I'm already grown. So
right,
I had to break down. Like, I had a big issue. My friend Tracy said, "You are hard on men." I used to be, oh, I had no mercy for men, and it
right,
was because of the women I was raised around.
right. You just
It almost felt
you
like I was
hear that
protecting them.
conversation, yeah, and you
Exactly,
always hearing their
exactly.
conversations. So
Hmm.
that's another thing, just knowing that you they don't pay attention to the fact that you even in a lot of females, especially females,
Yep.
they really don't pay attention to the fact their kids might not necessarily be in the room, and you might be that parent that say, go in your room and get out of grown folks' business. But you got to
Yeah.
think about when you was younger, your ear was at that damn door.
Well, the interesting thing, I never heard my mother speak badly about my father. Now, it was a couple times where my dad had a really bad temper, and I kind of may possibly have one. And she would say, "Oh, you being just like your dad," and but the crazy thing, those were the only descriptions that I knew of him
Right.
because that's what I heard. But on the other side, I never heard my mother talk down about him. When he was passing away, it was my mother that was at his bedside. She made sure I was there the day that it ultimately happened. But it it is very interesting to me how we look at fathers.
Mhm.
And like I said, being a male figure in a school system, I see how men are treated.
Right.
Women can be nurturing. They can be, they can hug a child. They can, nurture them in that way or soothe them, and talk to them a certain way. But if I do it, I'm a bully. I'm aggressive. I'm overly disciplining them. I'm
Mhm.
looked at a certain way for doing the same thing my women counterparts can do to children and not be looked at. If
Right.
I hug a child, it's inappropriate. But I can have the teacher in the next room do the same thing to the same child. And that, oh my God, she is so nurturing. And
Mhm.
that's because of bad previous behavior. But
Right.
what got us to this point of not, I've think about one mother in particular, and she in a meeting, one of many we've had together with the principal, she told me how her ex-husband was abusive towards her, and how that husband has joint custody, and she's fighting to get it away from him because when the daughter will go over there, his parenting style reflected his alleged abuse, because the way she talked about the abuse, they were just in arguments.
Mm.
And that funneled down to her child. So when I would correct her child's behavior in my classroom, the mother herself would deem that as abuse.
Mm.
And she would say, "You're being very abusive to my child," by
Right.
simply forcing her to get up and do a assignment in front of the class. That was considered me abusing her, or me bullying her, or me being too aggressive with her.
That was her protection mechanism from her own experience.
Right, but she was putting that on her child, and
Right.
now her child is identifying me simply being a teacher, a male teacher, with being abusive.
I got you. Yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, even in my own experience, like you were saying, with your mother not, saying anything bad, I never heard from my own experience. I never knew that my father that was in the home was not my real father. But my mother never said anything bad. She just didn't mention that I had a biological father. I always thought my father who was in the house.
Yeah, that's a
My,
big thing we have to change. We have to change
oh,
that.
I didn't know that until we got older. And it was like, oh,
Hmm.
yeah, your stepfather. And then this, like I said, the way it was just introduced to me, it was just so crazy. Like, oh, somebody's here to see you. Can you got time, or can you come down? Somebody came in town to see you. And then it's just this random man standing here. And I hate that because I seen it on a show previously. I was watching that Life After Lockup, and the
Hmm.
woman did the same exact thing. She brought the father who hadn't been there in the child's life, and was just like the first thing that they always say. Do you know who I am? Nigga, no, I don't know who you are. Why are you talking to me? Like, I hate when they
Because,
get into
well, because the assumption is that
stupid
somebody has
questions.
said something at some point,
I feel like it's
and
a
that
stupid
has to
question.
stop.
Like, why are you asking me this stupid question? If I knew who you was, don't you think I would have spoke when you walked up to me? Don't you think I would
Right.
have gave you a hug or gave you some
But
acknowledgement?
you know how hard that is on a child's psyche, and every child reacts to that differently. Some act like it doesn't phase them, some act like it doesn't bother them, but deep down inside it hurts. It does hurt, especially when, and it's one thing if your father just didn't have the equipment to be able to be a father, even if he went and started another family. Maybe he didn't have the equipment or the mindset to be a father to you.
No, he was it wasn't by choice when he first
Well, I was thinking in
started.
general. I was just talking in general. But
Yeah,
go ahead.
when he first started their music career, he actually got locked up in Germany. And
Hmm.
Germany is kind of hard to get out. So that's where he was. That's actually where it wasn't that he wasn't there and just knew he had his kids. Cause like even now, like we have with all his kids, he really just goes
Hmm.
his way to try to make sure he's communicating, even if it's just a call within a week, or a call each week.
But we
You can
still waiting for
tell.
you to come on the show, sir. Uh-huh.
I know. He just said that's the one thing he said last week. He said, "Baby, I just really need to find you." So it's both ways. It's me because he'll give me a day like, okay, this is when I'm going to be free. This is when he need to call you. Like
We
last
can
Tuesday,
pre-record. We can pre-record.
I was supposed to call him and I literally forgot until like Friday. And he's back on the road again. He's back
Hmm.
at another tour. So it's like it's both ways, but it was just that's where he was. He was in Germany. He was
Right.
locked up. He
Right.
couldn't come. But it was so it wasn't anything. I don't think it was that's part of the reason why it played that way, because it wasn't anything bad that she could really say, because it was out of his control.
Right.
Um why he couldn't be there. So it wasn't like he was
But
just
she
a dude.
wanted you to have a living, breathing representation of the father.
Right. And my stepfather
Hmm.
never be like no other way. Even after, if you pay attention, a lot of people when that happens to them and then the real father comes, then they kind of like, all right, my job is done. My father
Yeah.
still, my non-biological father, my stepfather, I just talked to him last week too. And he was like, yeah, he said, did you get your money? He still sends me birthday money like I'm 10 every day.
Hmm. But see those and see and that's my issue because there's tons of examples that are different from the last and that's different from the next. And we have to stop giving these blanket statements because the dad is not in physically in the child's life that one he didn't want to be or one he couldn't be like there are certain circumstances and we have to start being honest about a lot of them and not just the bitter baby mother or the angry baby mother but there are other stories that have happened and we have to begin to tell those
Tell them.
stories so
And
so people can identify with how we then get over that. It's
mm,
just I look at my mother and her siblings, and there are allegedly four dads for 11 children, but just how they convey information like this child was really this man's father, or this child really has this father, or my mother lost her father once she got to be an adult. My younger aunts and uncles, they lost their dad and they were way into their adulthood, but that man became a parent for my mother when her dad died. Like it just this
if you
and
want to know who father is who, go to your grandmother. She gonna tell it all.
but we have to start telling it.
Grandma will.
We
You
have to
go.
start
You want to
telling those
know.
truths though.
You
It
want
it
to know
took
if your
it took
cousin did it.
my father's baby sister to tell me some real difficult difficult truths about my mother and my father's marriage and their relationship because I used to feel like I wasn't wanted because
Mm,
he wouldn't had I was the prime example. I had the dad who wouldn't have other children. He had another child and named him.
a
Yeah,
John.
we have the same name. And
Oh,
sometimes you have to uh just think about the child even if it's a difficult situation. Tell that child the truth. They deserve the truth.
absolutely.
And sometimes parents, I know some is like what age do I tell them, but
Right.
you have to tell them in any way that they can so they don't grow up because resentment in children towards parents is a real thing, especially
Absolutely.
when there have been truths that's been hidden from them.
Hitting foot. Right. Right.
It
That's
makes it difficult to trust that parent when
right.
you know things have not been said to you.
Right. And speaking of fatherless kids, I wanted to kind of touch back on another hot topic real quick that we touched on, I believe, the week before last.
Hmm.
But it was when we were talking about DC Young Fly losing his wife, and he's now a mother. His kids are now motherless.
Right.
Have just the father there now. Um, not really touching on the topic of the father mother situation, but I just was looking at Love and Hip Hop the
Hmm.
other day, and I watched the Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with the artist, the I don't know if she's Jamaican or what it is. Spice is her name.
Ice Spice.
No, Spice. She
Spice.
dark.
Okay, the Jamaican
The,
one. Okay.
yeah, the Jamaican one. So the new season has just came on, but it looks like it was recorded for 2022 because that's where it started.
Yeah, they
Um,
normally take those shows a year in advance, and then when we see it, it's already been almost a year since
right.
all the stuff happened.
So in 2022, same thing happened to her. She went under surgery for, they said, a BBL
Hmm.
in December, and she said, I died on the table that day. She was in a coma. She was in a coma. I don't know how long they said she was in a coma, but she was unresponsive. And I'm like, and it brought back the topic that we talked about the week before with DC Youngfly losing his wife to the cosmetic surgery. I'm like,
Hmm.
people are really still doing this. It's
But
crazy.
I'm just like the last issue we talking about. We cannot. We carelessly forget that we have created spaces for us as black people in general, especially black women, to feel like they have to live up to a standard of some white bitch who only got a body to mimic theirs.
But don't be scared. That's the thing. And that's even though that's the biggest thing that I find. I listen to and I watch a lot of artist stories, especially a lot of female artists. If you notice, in a lot of female
Hmm.
story, and even male artists. Like for instance, what is his name? What is his name? Something the kid. I can't think of his name right now, but he was a skateboarder. And a lot of them have basically been like, I think even Taylor Swift at some point. No, it wasn't Taylor Swift, it was another Caucasian artist. She started off on American Idol, and she was just like, they wanted this of me, and I said, no, I'm not doing this, so this is where I am. But it's
Oh,
like, don't
Kelly
be
Clarkson.
that's who it was. Don't be
Hmm.
afraid to give that pushback. I know you want fame, I know you want stardom, and it's gonna happen, but don't be afraid to give that pushback.
But
Because
we have allowed people to run this entertainment business that look like what they don't want us to look like.
right.
I a lot of the young people that I mentor or I'm in a classroom with, I always tell them my college story. Up into up before college, I've always been an actor. I've always did arts, and I was always in white spaces. So you feel outcasted naturally in those situations. But I went to a black school thinking I was gonna get the nourishment that I needed, and mm, I had a fat, overweight, homosexual department chair tell me I was not leading man material. And he never said it to me, but he said it through faculty members. And I remember confronting him about it and letting him know what he looked like. Like he literally looked like Professor Clump. Like no lie, no bullshit. And I hope he watches this and listens to this and understands that. And then I had a overweight professor. I love my professor that was overweight that also told me to my face, like, your voice is not deep enough. Or, I've had that. And we let people, and neither one of them was a model figure size.
Mm.
Neither one of them. And
I
even
would say
throughout my career,
unnecessary.
I've auditioned in New York before. I've auditioned in LA, and I've been told you have talent, but we got to make you look like. And we are actors portraying real people, and we portray real people in false ways, and that's why these people feel this need to keep up. And I got to get my body snatched back. Well, baby, sometimes that belly don't go away.
Right.
Sometimes that belly don't go away. Sometimes you get a
I
love handle. Sometimes you get some thighs that just jiggle a little too much. But and it's things that you can do, but uh, I don't know. And I'm speaking, and I'm in the process of getting my teeth redone. So
Mhm.
who am I to talk? I could, go under anesthesia and not wake up.
Oh, not
Just
with that.
getting,
True.
a root canal or a crown or, you know, but
But that's
we're
what I'm
compelled
saying.
to do
Like
that.
those things, like, okay, I can understand. I can understand those involuntary things. Like people go through surgeries, knee surgeries,
Hmm.
hip replacements, just general stuff.
Where it's supposed to improve their
Yeah,
their way of life.
appendix,
Hmm.
things like that. Things happen, and they already tell you doing those simple, every life things that are common life scenarios, like appendix ruptures, you know, what is it called? When you have to get the
The
tonsillitis,
tonsillitis.
those
Hmm.
are like common things that like you can't control, out of your control. Some of those things just have to be done. But they tell you with even those how dangerous going under, and just I don't know. I just don't
But some of
understand.
those things, like me getting my teeth done, I feel the way, now that I've gotten older and my teeth begin to shift, and we had a long period during the pandemic where things just went wrong in my mouth. But I feel the same way about my smile that some people feel about the size of their
Yes,
butt.
yeah, true.
And I don't like to, nickel and dime 'em, but some things are to improve your quality, your health. I have to have healthy teeth because that, affects my health.
I
But
just don't.
I don't.
I don't like the fact. I don't like how the ones that get it done, like how they downplay common people. You know what I'm saying? Like I understand you get it.
Well,
Like
they had that attitude before they got that surgery. They just included themselves. They really did. They just included themselves in those people. So
like
they wanted to step aside from them.
I followed two famous strippers out of Baltimore on my Instagram. Two
Mm.
famous strippers out of my thing. And one particularly it was funny to me, and I pointed it out to my husband. You could clearly see that this girl then got some stuff done. And I was
Recently, I
like,
think I know what you're talking about.
I
And it
was
looked like recently.
so funny. The post that she had posted, it said, God knew what he was doing when he created. I'm like, God didn't create that. You had to pay.
But look at and if it's who I think it is, he's older, trying to keep up with those young girls.
Oh God, that was just funny for me. Like you could clearly see that she had a butt thing done, and it was like, don't create
Hmm.
narratives for these younger girls that are actually following you. These younger strippers that are coming into the club that you are now known for. Like, yeah, I want to be just like her because look where she got from starting here. Stop creating these false narratives for them. Like, stop
But
making
we
it
have to,
feel
but we can say that, but it has to go back further. How we identify ourselves. We are now getting procedures that we once were ridiculed for as Black people
give
because
it to the white
Kim
people.
Kardashian has made it popular. So now I got to get my. If I see another Black woman with lip injections, I'm
Oh
gonna
my
go off.
Oh my Jesus.
I see,
Or doing or not even getting the lip injections, buying these damn Kylie Jenner plump lips. Stop giving them money. Y'all making me mad because y'all giving these
but
people
they're playing in our face because they're popularizing.
what
Like
we
I
already
just
have.
saw somebody. I just saw somebody getting a gap drilled
I
into
saw one of those.
their mouth.
A girl went to where did she go? Shoot, it was a Black girl I saw. She went to like it was like a not Africa, but it was somewhere like similar
One of
to
those
that.
foreign
And
countries. Uh-huh.
traveled, but it was like a Black foreign country. She traveled to have the Gap place, and I was like, "Wait, people paying for that? I'm confused. What is we doing at
And
this
we worked years and years. I
time?"
that was my frustration, having braces and then having my gap open back up. And that's what started this whole downhill spiral of me wanting to get my teeth fixed and
Ti's
look
wife.
nice and present. I used to, and I even for me, it I did not have the typical insecurities. And I remember looking back in the last year or so, looking back at all of my photos from the radio station, and I used to have this big Kool-Aid smile. And I have not had that smile in a minute because
Yeah,
I felt really insecure about my teeth.
right. I don't now for me, see, so I have the chip too, but it has never really played in my life. Like I have never had anyone, and I'm gonna be honest, I can put this on my own kids. Never has it played a part, even in my dating life, that I have ever been told, like, oh, you get your teeth. Like I have never been like it's never played a part for anybody to come up and say, I ain't talking to you, home. What's wrong with her teeth? Like it's never. So it's just now I'm like you. I want to get it fixed because I think the dentist said last time I
They
went
can
to go
drill it
get,
down.
huh?
They can file it down.
Yeah, last time I went in there, I think something she touched something over here and was like, "It looks like it's bothering you," but it never did. It never bothered me, and they always ask me that at the dentist, like, "Does this bother
Hmm.
you?" I'm like, no, but now it's starting to get sensitive, and she says she thinks it's because of this. So she's made the suggestion that maybe you want to look into getting it fixed because it's starting to make my teeth feel sensitive now.
Because it's probably growing out, and that nerve is probably growing out from the bone up at the top.
Right. But now it's never been an issue with you. I'm married. I've been married for 14 years. It's never played an issue.
Ain't got no problem, man.
Right. It's never deterred me, and I've never had not one guy, and I've had some niggas, but I ain't never had anybody come and actually tell me, or actually, going out with my homegirls, being in the clubs, anything like that. I've never had anybody come to me and say,
But see,
bring that in as
think about it this way, because often what people think is confirmation of how we feel about ourselves.
right.
So you didn't start with that thought. So often we don't encounter. So when we're hiding something or we insecure, that's when people notice stuff about us. And
Mm-hmm.
people will think what they think regard. People have probably thought it and just never said it to you.
See you,
But
right.
your confidence level and how you feel about yourself overshadowed anything that they could say. So often
Oh yeah.
people are not going to confront you with it. They're
Oh,
not going to say, not that it's a problem, but
I was gonna
we put a lot of emphasis on what other people think. But as community, we have to also understand the jokes that we used to tell people.
right. You
Like
can tell
it,
me.
right, this how we, you know, how we dealt with each other, how we, you so black, you so ugly, your lips so
Right.
big, why your eyes so far apart, just things that we've said about people.
Right.
As I grew up, I used to always want to get my butt taken off because it was something that people always noticed about me. Like I would feel like people would notice that before they noticed me. And
Right.
as a black man, it would seem like women were inappropriate with me and what they said or did, like they'll smack it. I've had grown people smack my ass in
Mm.
public.
I was gonna
Yes.
say, I was thinking that as soon as you said that, when you said you had an issue, I'm like, people probably want to
I
smack
really
your
have had
butt.
to fight. And a lot of it was me having to go off on women. And I've gotten into altercations with men in a club. You'll walk past somebody and you'll just not even like tap it, but like palm it. And
Mm.
that so it's a lot of stuff that as black people we've had to deal with. The whole hot and tot thing. Now women are looking like hot and tot,
Right.
and they're paying for it. Not even that people are harming their internal organs to get these small waists and small abdomens and these big hips and getting hips and ass and butt lifts. And I've I've been doing a lot of research on that. And the butt lift is one of the most dangerous surgeries. The same thing that these women are dying from, getting butt lifts, injections, transferring. That is one of
Right.
the most dangerous ones that you can get.
Mm.
But yeah.
Speaking of these women and their body changes
Hmm.
and wanting to just make themselves look a little bit more just you know bootsy, because he wanted a main one. He is like the king of social media when it comes to having them shake their butt, when it comes to women looking a certain way. He's just
Yeah.
crazy. But with Boosie, it's the thing about how the feds waited till after his court proceedings was over and they pulled him and snatched him up on this gun thing. It is funny to me because Boosie is not a role model, but the
But
comments that people are making behind this daggone arrest by the feds, they are literally not taking it the same way. Like, I don't think the narrative and the comments, that the way he's getting the comments, if that was anybody else, it wouldn't go that way. So for
people
instance,
defend him. They
yeah,
defend
that's
him
what
for
I'm
the
trying to
same
say. They
reason.
are
Uh,
defending him. He is not
mhm.
oh my, that's what I was trying to get to. Defending him, like they really in the comments, like that was the gun my brother. I had bought him my kid brother. He was playing with it. Somebody like, yeah, he did a video with me and they was props and da 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 da. And I'm like, y'all really defending him. Like, how y'all know if he ain't go out there and got a whole body? I believe Boosie got some bodies out here that y'all ain't found yet. Y'all ain't
I
about to tell
don't.
me that he ain't
The
got
thing is,
bodies.
I don't. I don't believe it because he paints a picture that is very different from probably who he really is. But the way I see people defending him is embarrassing.
it's
And not that I think any low of him, but the stuff that and the fans that you see in the comment, that measures the ignorance level that we are still collectively on as a culture for the things that we have defended him. I remember for years we would been talking about him getting his son's dick sucked. That
Mhm.
is a offense.
That man always
Like,
got some
like
type.
if I was to say this grown woman sucked my dick and I said that in front of a therapist, that therapist has to then go and report that because the statute of limitation on child abuse is not, there's none. So that she
Right,
would have to, so that is a form of child abuse that you let a grown woman suck your child's dick.
right.
Him and whoever that prostitute is could be, but we don't do. Oh yeah, you know how many dudes I know got their dick sucked by a grown woman. We've normalized his behavior
When
and
that's
his
what I gotta say.
antics.
When it comes to him, it's a different scenario when it comes to him. It seems like when it comes to him, Boosie can do no freaking wrong.
Well, they said
Even
the same thing about R. Kelly, and look where he at now.
even when he made the comment and he came out about, his comments on gay people, it was still a battle. It was like it was 50-50. Everybody was on the fence. They was just going head
Because
by head.
they believe
He ain't
it's people who
he
believe like he believed. He has
wrong.
more adult followers than he has young people followers.
That man
It's
can run
it's
for president. That boy can run
Please
for
don't say that because we've
president.
already had Kanye and
He
we know
might
it's
have a
possible.
better listen, he might have a better chance than Kanye is what I'm trying to say. You seen his followers? If that
I
man decides
do.
that he gonna run for president, I believe they might get him in
Well,
the
I'm gonna
door.
say this with the criminal record he has, he wouldn't make it past the nothing. So
That's
I wouldn't even worry about that.
and
Kanye didn't have a criminal past. That's the
that's my
difference.
last topic. Now that's my very last hot topic was that because I'm so glad you said that. If he with his criminal record, he would not make it there. But this is what they are doing, and I just saw this on the news. So
Hmm.
evidently, President, I don't, why am I calling this man president? Evidently, Donald Trump is back in the running.
No,
And
convict Donald Trump said
they are
like
saying
they said.
they are saying that even if what I heard I'm gonna say tell you exactly what a news reporter said. A
Hmm.
news reporter said that even if convicted in jail, it doesn't disqualify him from
No.
running for. I said, are you dead? Is this what we coming down to?
He is still leading in the Republican
Is this what it coming
primary.
down to? Is this what life is coming down to? This is crazy. I
Mm.
have never
Where
seen
you
it.
from? Where you from? That white people can do what they want to do.
But
They get away with it.
you prefer for a convicted felon to be a
Yeah.
president in jail. You prefer for him to sit in jail and run the United
But say it,
States.
say it how you really want to say it. How we glorify that. He is more presidential to us than Obama was for his fraud. Because he out there, he gave every black man that I ever encounter that voted for him, or I thought voted for him. The sole reason was because he real. And I was getting money. I was getting money when he was in office.
That's
They
what I got to
haven't
say.
even
So my last
equated the high inflation or the rise in prices to him giving all that money away.
I was getting ready to say that, and that goes right into our topic. Because I was getting ready to say that no one is. It's like they
You
kind
want
of
me to play the video?
play the video because I was getting ready.
She's about to get into it. She's about to get into it.
Oh,
$1 million,
gee.
1993, today is now $2,070,000. Inflation in 5 years will probably devalue half of everyone's money listening to this in their 401ks, IRAs, and their soft saving accounts. Like right now, the world is a wreck, and their only solution to the devaluation is they're going to have to work harder. Over the last 20 years, 2002 to 2022, salaries have increased 27%. but the cost of a home has gone up 148%. In other words, like our cost of living and lifestyles is not keeping up. Average person drives a $60,000 a year car that has a $50,000 a year salary with over $100,000 of student debt, 60% of America living check to check. We have a problem. And being busy is not the solution, and getting another job is not the solution. You have to graduate and develop more of the Gen Z millennial mind that says there's got to be a smarter way. It can't be the immigrant way of just work harder, because there is something to say for hard work. But if it's not smart enough hard work, then it's stupid work. It's dumb work. And there's a lot of financial idiots out there that have just not gotten themselves educated.
So let me say this. Where we are in our culture is, and we kid and joke a lot on this platform, but this is real. It's real for the reason, it's real. I just was offered a position. Well, not offered, asked to apply for a position. This position paid 37 something a year. Where we are with prices, that is not enough to support a single individual
person at all.
when it comes to, so not only like, so say I'm renting. I'm currently looking for an apartment. I have to make monthly 3 to 4 times as much as the rent is to be qualified, not to get it, to qualify for that apartment. Then, so say the rent is, and right now, a nice neighborhood that's medium nice, not even like rich, wealthy, a medium nice neighborhood, the rent is starting at $1,200 to $2,000,
True.
and that could be for a room
Listen,
in a house with other people.
you want to talk, but they said Florida is supposed to be this. All the southern states are supposed to be the cheapest cost of living. It is no
Well,
less.
that changed when people started moving to the south.
It is no less than for a single house. You ain't paying no less than $1,400 in rent for one bedroom. You not paying no less than
And a
$1,400.
lot of people are now, the new hustle is get a property, um, and divide it into spaces.
Absolutely,
And
that's what
and
this
now
Russian
this
family.
room is 1,100. This room is 1,100. This room may be a master suite, so we gonna charge you 1,500 for that.
These Russians are doing duplexes. They are buying a home. They're buying a single family home and doing a duplex. They live on one side with 2 bedrooms, and they have somebody renting the other half. And
And
that's
hey,
what I'm saying.
that's
That
been a hustle for a long time. But what happened was they then raised the prices. So now that person, so the game was, I want to live in this apartment complex for free. So I buy this apartment complex and I rent all the spaces out and I get to live there for free. Not a problem. But when you are now, so you were already pricing it for that. Now you are doubling the profit. So I live here, I get a profit, then I can get a double profit. And inflation has caused you go into the market. I went into the market the other day and I had made a list, a grocery list for the week of things I wanted to cook. When I say last week I was spaghettiing it up, I said
That's your cheapest meal right now.
and that's still expensive because meat prices are going up.
Who are
You
you talking?
know, and just trying to, and I'm single, so I'm seeing you as a mom with 11 children and a husband, and you know, I'm saying to myself, how are we expected to make it? And everybody's blaming everything on the pandemic and the fact that people don't
Not
want to work
pandemic.
and all that. But a lot of these places are raising what they're charging people, what
Right.
they're paying people rather. And that is not helpful because, okay, so you have this job at McDonald's and now you've been brought up to $15 an hour. One, your hours are going to be cut to under 30 hours a week, no more than 32 hours in a work week if you get that per paycheck. Some people are limited to 30 some hours per paycheck. You can't even get to 40 anymore. No more overtime.
Right.
And that's the and people complaining about that because in other industries it's plentiful. But that's because those are the industries where it's everybody has cable. So the cable man making out, the bus driver making out, all these people making out. But these minimal jobs that we need, we want to go to McDonald's, we want to go to the Cheesecake Factory. These people are not making enough. We right now are in a writer strike. The people who write the shows that makes billions of dollars do not have enough money to not have a part-time job. That's
But
why
look at
we're in the middle of a writer's strike in Hollywood right now. A
see,
lot of them have extra jobs to be able to take care of themselves because they're getting paid the least amount on the totem pole. It is
absolutely.
scary to me that we're in that space. And
And
yeah.
my issue is, like you were saying, before we played the clip, going back to Donald Trump. From the conversations leading up to him being voted into presidency, from the conversations leading up, I've talked to people of all walks of life when he was running
Hmm.
for president originally. And the biggest thing that stuck out for me for every single person that decided to vote for Donald Trump, whether Republican or Democratic, and decided to change their side, the biggest key word that I heard consistently for those who were 100% backing him. He's a good businessman. He's gonna bring what's great. He's gonna change it. He's going to bring us back to where we need to be. It was only business people it was only business owners who owned their business, and they just thought he was gonna come in and do something remarkable to help
I knew
their
that was a lie.
business. This was they argue. I've talked to doctors. I worked at the doctor's office. I've talked to doctors. I've talked to lawyers. I've had these conversations with these people because for some reason everybody decided when Donald Trump ran, everybody wanted to have this lunchroom conversation. So I was like, okay, let's get into it. And every single time, the person that was in the room that wanted to say, this is why I'm going to vote for Trump, always
Hmm.
came down to them being a single business owner and thinking, oh, he's a business owner. Look at his business. But you know, one thing that my mother brought to my attention, because we had conversations about it too, is that he doesn't really have any successful businesses. So what
No.
makes y'all
But see,
say?
that's but we don't look at business that way. We don't look at business in terms of what you've been able to achieve. We look at business of how much money you've made at one time. We don't even care about in that next moment you lost it all. But well, he made $1 million. Yeah, he made $1 million off of selling his name. But now his name is not worth
Absolutely.
as much as it used to be. So a lot of those businesses have taken his name off of their building. So
And
that's
the
not income coming in for him anymore.
and the United States is what now? Another failed business. Now that he has left office.
Yep.
It's
But they
another
don't see they look at who's in office right now. That's him. That's why everything costs so much.
Well, they did the
No.
same
The
thing to
next
Obama.
presidency pays the cost of what the
The
previous
president,
person.
and that's what we were trying to say about Obama. They blame everything on Obama. No, Obama
Yep.
is coming from somebody who already fucked it up. He's coming
Yep.
into repair it.
He
But they force
inherited it.
up
Yep.
and down that
Yep.
that's what happened in his presidency. Oh, if he wasn't in office,
And that's what
it
keeps
had nothing to
happening
do with
to every time we get a Democratic president. That
it.
keeps
It had
being the
nothing
thing that happens where they're cleaning up the mess for that first term. And then if they get a second term,
because they don't want to
then
admit
they're able to start making change happen.
they don't want to
But
admit they're wrong. Yeah, we
yeah,
made
I
that
gotta I gotta stop
mistake.
talking about him because that's a trigger for me. What's the next story? Where
It's
you want to go?
stupid. Okay. So we can get into the next topic. Let's do the all right. So the next topic was what dislikes are we teaching our children?
Sometimes with school choice, it gets a little bit tricky, right? My first class the first day I had 25 students. By day 2, I had 19 because 6 parents switched out of the class because they saw me and they were like, there's no freaking way, before I even got a word in.
As a parent, I would want to know, like, do you not think that that is okay or they're right to withdraw when they see you? Because ultimately, you're probably an excellent educator.
I appreciate that.
I have no doubt about that. But I think we get into muddy waters when we start trying to take that choice away from the parent.
Do I think that it is okay for a parent to see me and go, not around my kid? No, I don't think that's okay. I feel like that's really crossing the line because you are, for lack of better words, discriminating against me openly. That's like seeing a black teacher and being like, there's no way. It is the same. It is the same.
It's not the same, and here's why. You can't control what color your skin is, but you can control if you decide to put on makeup or not in the morning. Secondly, ideologies can be discriminated against. We do it all the time. If we saw somebody that was wearing a Ku Klux Klan mask and teaching children, we would say, we don't want that ideology being taught to our kids. In the same way, if you as a man are dressing up, wearing makeup, and teaching our children, you're teaching them that that's okay. And I don't
Get that ignorant off the screen. So I'm gonna let you go in on this, but I'm gonna say 2 things. One, it is very interesting that is a white person, or he may identify as white, or mixed at least, saying these things. The other part of this first statement that I'm making was it is very interesting when you heard the black man, both of them, the one who was ignorant, because he may be passing, but I see it in you, baby. And the black man who was in the room with him. We can go back decades and find video or audio clips of white people saying the same thing about having a black doctor, a black teacher, a black anything in a space. So the fact that black people don't equate what you're doing, what we're doing to the LGBTQ plus community as equal to, as he said, the black community, it is astounding to me. It is astounding that you don't see you're basically saying the same thing that has been said to you. So now hurt people are hurting other people. The other side of it, as a black man, I've been put into this position before. I remember being in this lesbian club and a mother walked up to me and said, "What are you doing in a place like this?" Walked away from me. Didn't even carry on the conversation. I laughed at it. That Monday morning, I was in the principal's office explaining why I chose to do what I wanted to do on my free time.
But what was she doing in there?
But in these instances, that's not the point.
What was
It
she
is
doing?
a point, but it's
How
not.
am
So I
I
said to the
wrong?
mother, I said, but so should I call CPS on you?
Right. Because how am I wrong how am I wrong in this instances? Because it's your child at the end of the day. I teach your child in school, but what you teaching your child outside of school in the
Outside
home
of
that you
school.
get to? Like,
When I
that
said
made
that,
no sense.
the principal got angry,
That
the
made no
mother got
sense.
angry.
It makes no
I
sense.
no longer worked at that school by the end of that day.
But what is
Now
the
I could
difference?
have easily made a case and been real wealthy right now.
But what is
Because this
the
started
difference?
with a text message. Say it again.
I said, but what was the difference from you being there and her being there? Why were you there to see that I was
I'm
there?
a
It was
black
no
man.
difference. It's
I'm
no
a black man. She
difference.
felt uncomfortable with her child being in a room with me,
I wish you'd have had
being
me
as
there.
though
I
I
wish
was
I
in
was
places
back
like
there.
that.
I would
But
have
you
played
don't know how many times
representative.
honestly, I can't tell you how many times I've been let go of teaching positions because of that. Because Maryland is an at will state, so they don't have to tell you why they're letting you go.
Mm.
Um, but I know particularly that was one of the first times. And I said to her, I said, but should I call CPS? She was like, "Why would you even say joke like that and say
But
something
why
like
you
that?"
got me
I
in
said,
here?
"Because you." I said, "I was in there for a birthday party. Why were you there?"
Right. Why are
I
you why are we
literally, besides me and the bouncer, we were the only two men in that club. I said, "So what were you doing there? You wasn't there for the birthday party, but what were you doing there?"
That's
So
crazy.
that story, I've been trying to get y'all to do this story for weeks now, but it's the idea of not just this one gay topic, but just in general, how many times or how often does our ignorance as adults transition to how children think?
It makes the topic itself makes no sense. I don't me period as a parent, I don't it just makes no sense. It shouldn't even be a topic that exists because it's the same as if you ever seen that clip. It was a clip that played on social media a while ago. I
Hmm.
believe around Christmas, it was a couple years ago, where the parent was in the store. I believe it was a white lady. She was in a store talking
I
about
giggle every time somebody say Caucasian. I don't know why. I just giggle on the inside.
how to
Oh.
decide how to allow her child to decide, or should she make the decision for her child as to which color doll her child should get. I don't know if you remember that.
So
It
was this
came
a black parent
it was a white parent,
and
and
her
that
child wanted the black doll?
I think her child wanted the black doll, and then it was a
Mhm.
decision. It was like, why, how, or why should I be made to, or do you, am I supposed to make that decision and say, okay, let me go ahead and pick this doll. This is the one she, how do I make that decision? Like, so when I going back to that topic, because it kind of sounds like I'm going in circles, but going back to that topic, the topic should not exist because it's the same as if you have white kids being taught in the school by black teachers and they come home for instance, let's go a little bit deeper. My 5-year old, my 6-year old in kindergarten and pre-K, they are very, very curious about everything.
Mhm.
So for my child to come home by having a white teacher and say, Mommy, I want to be just like my teacher. What do you mean I want to be just like my teacher? I like the way she looks. I want my hair straight like hers. Let's just go deep like that. I want
Mhm.
straight like hers. I want it blonde like hers.
You want to know an interesting fact?
Am I to discriminate?
And you went to mixed schools before. What is very interesting in today's world, it wasn't really like that when we probably were in school, but in today's world, children that are white are hypersensitive to black topics. Like if something happens in a classroom and it's veering in a racial way, I would say anybody who's in a classroom with mixed students, Hispanic, white, other, look at those white students when issues get brought up about race or we're talking about a black person or
They look
something that's happened in a community. And I teach elementary school. And those students, and I'm not capping for them, but I'm saying watch their expression. These children are growing up in a space where it is very obvious to them it's not something they were just birthed in, that they are really outside of the topics and the issues and don't know how to respond. It is very uncomfortable for me to see a white child respond that way because that shows me that they did not come into this world with those ideologies. And
right.
they often feel as comfortable in those black schools because you know what's happening here in Baltimore with a lot of the gentrification. There's a lot of white families living in these predominantly black communities. So there are going to be white students at these schools, a handful of them. And it's just how we're dealing with these topics. It's adults that are putting these ideals into children's heads. My feelings towards white people until after, well, before elementary school, my ideals were set by the black women in my life who did not like white people, justifiably. But my thoughts about white people were based solely on how my grandmother and her sisters and brothers felt about white people. based off of what had happened to them
Right.
in life. And that's how things go. But how much of that are we then putting into our children on either side, white, black, or races or not? How much of that are we implanting in our children?
Right.
And then they go into like, now I found a lot of truths in my experiences with what my grandmother said. So I was ready for it almost. But what if I'd have went into that situation different? Not necessarily not knowing those things, but having an attitude towards people who were not the people who my grandmother was talking about. These are children and the grandchildren, great grandchildren of the people that she spoke about. So who's to say that they are that people? So I don't defend white people and their ignorance, but it's just how much of our ignorance do we then put on, especially in a situation like this where it's not about race, but clearly when that man with the lock started speaking, it was like, sir, do you know that's how people spoke about your culture at one point?
Right. You should understand. And I think that's kind of where she was going with the speaker, the
Uh
teacher.
huh.
That's kind of where she was going, where he,
Yeah.
I don't want to say he shall. I think that's kind of where they was going with it
Right.
as well. It's shocking.
They is a very neutral term. Is what I'm learning. That's a very neutral term.
My
They.
mom just said that too. She said she is really learning now about being, I guess kind of like the different terms and stuff. She was telling me about
Yeah.
got into an experience like that. And it
I just
kind
took a
of
workshop and it was annoying because, yeah, yeah. It
that's
was,
what she said. She said, my mother said the same thing. She was like, she kind of noticed, and somebody even pulled her to the side and was like, oh, they don't like to be referred to as she. Well, somebody should have told. My mother was like, well, somebody should at least told me that before I came to this lunch. Everybody just
yeah,
looking at me like I'm in the wrong, but nobody's telling me I'm in the wrong.
because you don't want to be addressed as you may appear, but that's my problem with it. Just tell somebody, correct
Right.
them.
They did nobody told her. They just literally had her sitting there and the girl was actually it was actually the girl was actually a stud, but that was her preference. She liked to be referred to as they or them. But nobody told her that. So she's sitting here at this lunch and she keeps saying, yeah, and she and you and her and everybody, she said everybody just was kind of giving her a scolding look. And
Yeah,
it was her best friend's um it was her best friend's niece. So she
yeah.
said her best friend, she said her best friend kept nudging her to the point where the they got up and went to the bathroom, like insulted, like my mother did something
She
wrong.
said, "Where the
Nobody
they?"
explained it. She
But
did. She got
it's
up
and that was I just got in trouble a little bit at a professional development that I went to, a 3 hour professional development on this very topic, nothing else, this topic. And I said to the person, I said, well, what education are you giving to individuals who are adapting this new way of life?
none.
The individual, the they, the him, the she. What are you giving? What information are you giving to them to have grace for people? And grace doesn't mean you keep letting them do it. Grace is, hey, I prefer to be, referred to
Right.
as they,
That's what
or just use my name.
that's what bothers me, that you and that I feel like some people expect you to read their minds, and it's like and they get offended and they go into like this meltdown, and it's like, no, you still have to give us the courtesy to
Yeah,
let us know we're not mind readers. You still have to give us that common courtesy. I
yeah.
will respect you. I will respect what how you identify, but give me that courtesy to let me know. Don't just sit there and say, oh, she was just being rude. Like,
Well, let's this next topic is near and dear to my heart. It's all about my values. So let on tab tell
No
you.
amount of money enough for what I deserve. It's only I'm priceless.
Right. Okay. Okay.
It's what I will accept. Right. There's no amount of money you can offer me that is what I'm worth.
Right.
I am priceless. But there's an amount that I'll accept to partner with you and work with you.
Okay.
That's the difference. And so I just have to make a decision. Do I want that or not?
So this topic is near and dear to my heart because just last week, same time, I had to let someone know what my value is. During the show, I had someone calling me, trying to take my time that they were not paying for, to do a project. And that project could have the little bit of money that, well, I'm not gonna say a little bit of money. The money that was I was being paid to do that job, to finish that job, um, would have helped me in this moment. But in that moment, I had to choose my value over someone else's perception of my value. And it is a hard thing that I see a lot of people having to make and
Struggle
not
with.
being able to make.
Struggle with. I'm trying to tell you. I know so many friends that I be like, listen, you want me step in and be your advocate because I don't like it. But the fact that I have to say something like, know your value, the fact that I have to say something, it bothers me because it's like, why? And especially when it comes to their family members, I be
Mhm.
wanting to sit back like, I don't give a damn if you family or not, you gonna pay these prices.
Well, I've said several times, my mother started paying for, well, I'm not saying my mother's always paid me for my jewelry, whether I charged her up front or not, which I never charged her up front. But she would always find a way to give me the value of my jewelry in some way, whether she would just put it in my hand or she would give it to me in another space. And I started saying to myself, in terms of what my value is, um, I can't give you free jewelry anymore. And
Mhm.
it's not that I don't want to, because I started giving people jewelry in the beginning, but it was costing me.
Right,
It was costing me, and then those people wouldn't say, "Hey, you gave me a pair of earrings. I'm gonna buy the next pair."
right.
No, they would expect that
Every
next
time.
time, every time.
Hmm.
And this conversation, and it has nothing to do with your worth. What Tabitha Brown said is, you are priceless. We are priceless individuals. There's not a For me, and this has hurt me a lot. It hurt me in the standards of the world, not hurt me personally. But I didn't get jobs, or I got denied jobs, or like this job, I had to get prorated my rate because I quit the week before. Um, and the your value cannot be set by any, and I'm telling anybody out there who feels like it is, you can agree to get paid this amount. And Tabitha Brown is at a space right now where we watched her ascend to where she is right now. And she has said that no value can be put on what she's doing. What she says is, I can agree to partner with you for this amount. That doesn't equate to someone's value.
Right.
That's what I've agreed upon. So these people who are especially for these art organizations who are giving artists a little bit of crumbs and saying you should be thankful somebody is paying you. Every time I hear that, I show people my Cash Apps and my Zelle, where people from around the world have sent me money for my work and have never met me. But the price that I put online, or the price that I put on my sales, that's what they pay for. And I think I'm very under fair with my prices, because I know, what I do is extra in the world.
Right.
But again, like that, when I've listened to that video clip several times, like over and over again, because sometimes you have to remind yourself, you can never buy me. It's never a price tag you can put on me.
On me. Right. Right. Well, I say to that effect, I when I was younger and a little bit less, informative about like the whole situation, I've taken that and just like jobs in general,
Yeah.
I I was a little bit more open to, okay, that's what you pay. Okay. No.
And they know in that moment they know they got you.
Right, they do, and they're gonna keep pushing that. They're going,
Yeah.
no, no, we don't know, we don't give raises, we don't, and that's particularly, it had actually recently um changed where I'm at now. And I
Mm-hmm.
probably wouldn't be where I'm at now if I didn't make that decision. In my previous jobs, I've always worked in the medical field. Y'all know I've always worked in the medical field. And my very last job, and I'm gonna call them out, St. Agnes, they don't pay their employees nothing, and they don't barely want to give you a raise. But
That's I always say, I think that's I don't consider that like a teaching hospital, but their issue is they don't have their own doctors.
they don't.
So their doctors basically lease out or,
They do.
go come on a rotation there.
It's not even that. It's what their expectations of those doctors are for. Because the doctors, before I left, they had just had a recent meeting where they changed their contracts. They wanted them to see over
Or a
60
quota.
patients in a period of, I think, only spend 30 minutes with each patient, but see 60 patients within that day. And it's like, that's
It's
not,
not even enough hours in a day
that's
for
what
that.
the doctors was saying. Like, that is not enough quality time to be able to officially give my patient the treatment that they accurately need. And that
And
was their
that's why
argument.
people and see that's an interesting fact because now you understand why I waited longer in a waiting room than I took in this room. And they try to get you in and out because they got a quota.
Because they have a quota and they start deducting and they start taking money. So at the end of that quota, when they go to pay them, they take those deductions off. They look at all that, how much extra time you spend it, and they penalize them for that. When they changed that contract right before I left, man, our doctor's office cleared out, and we had some of the best. That for that clinic to be in Columbia,
Mhm.
that the one reason why I love that clinic is because it was so African American based. We had more African American doctors, not nurse practitioners, not PAs, not to say nothing is wrong with it, but we had so many Black female young doctors. And I was just
Mhm.
so proud to be working at a place like that where these, and we in Columbia. So you getting these swifty, stiffy white people that's coming in all uppity and stuff until they get in that room and see this African American young doctor that went to Howard. And she
Mhm.
like and she's doing your surgeries and stuff. It just made me just really love being there. And they weren't uppity doctors. They were just like, they would sit in lunch and be like, hey, what you doing? This like the same as you. Like, we doing the same thing.
Mhm.
We going to the same hairdressers,
It
things like
matters.
that.
That matters.
But when
That
they
matters.
that contract and put them in that shell, it cleared them out. It cleared them. That daggone office cleared out to the point where the doctor that actually bought the clinic out and was part owner of the clinic, she retired this year, and she was over retirement. She was in her 70s, but that was, she loved working. She loved being a doctor. So she kept working, kept working. She didn't have to work. Her husband was
Mhm.
a retired judge. She was set.
Yeah.
She didn't have to work, but that was her passion. So she was past retirement, but that cleared her out. She retired. She said, y'all can have my practice. I'm done. I'm selling it. I'm done.
Hmm.
That cleared.
But now you understand why, and that's part of the reason. And I know it's not always the doctors, but we have to. Yesterday, and just the very thing you just said, you just praised them for. I was like, we need facilities with people that look like us. I went to my new dentist office, the third one this year, and it was a white young man, fresh out of school, and it was a older woman. They had an older woman who would. They basically was like, where the students would come to first, and it was crazy. Like I'm sitting there explaining to him what has been happening, and like this is, all this came about with my teeth during, the pandemic. I didn't have any major issues before then, other than my gap opening up. And everything I said to this man, when a white woman came in there, it was like, yeah, he said he didn't have any problems before the pandemic. I said, why the sarcasm? I didn't. If you look at my chart, you see I didn't have any issues. And
Right.
it was like I was having to prove myself. And, it was like they were well, sir, you didn't tell us about this medication that you were taking. I said, well, because that don't have anything to do with the health of my teeth. That's
Right.
a vitamin. I was deficient, as many black people are in their vitamins, and I'm taking a supplement for it. And it was just me feeling like I was on trial. I said,
Right.
if y'all don't give me a comprehensive plan for my dental work, I'm gonna go the fuck off in here. And so I'm speaking the language that because I did my homework before I got there.
Right.
So they just talk to you any kind of way, and then you're in there. Like we really need our own facilities. And
And,
I hate segregation, but I think we need to go back to it because
and it's not
our
just
quality of care across the board, whether it be the market to your dentist office, is just piss poor when it comes to the treatment that we get as black people.
And that's what I was going to say. And it's not just blacks. I think just minorities overall. Well, I can't say for your experience because you said you had, I think
Hmm.
you had African too, or
Well, my very first one was Jamaican,
right,
and he just had bad bedside
yeah,
manner. He was very rough, but I was young then, so
right.
if
Because
I was
I
this
have,
age, I would have cussed his ass out.
right. So I have a Russian dentist, and she's really good. She listens to you, the comprehensive. That's the one that mentioned,
Hmm.
about me having to get this done. And it
Hmm.
didn't throw any expensive things on me like, oh, you got to get cosmetic surgery. But she was like, let's just concentrate. This is the plan. This is what I see. This is going to be the comprehension plan. This is where we need to start from. Before I can even do this, we have to do this. And I just liked everything about it. And she was
Now
Russian.
imagine somebody who does not have your level of insurance. Imagine what that conversation looks like. Is she just as pleasant in those conversations, or
Right,
somebody who doesn't have insurance that may have to pay out their? Is she that pleasant with them?
right.
And
And that's
that's
what I
what
was
the
listening
scare.
for before she came to me. It was funny because you said that because that was my first time, my first experience going there. And they have the dentist rooms open so you can
Hmm.
hear. And so she was right next door to me before she came in with me. So that's the first thing I started listening to, like her conversation, because it was an elderly lady. So more than like that lady had Medicare. It was an
Hmm.
elderly black lady. And she was complaining that her dentures or something with her dentures were bothering her. And she was like crying. The lady was crying, like to the point where she almost had me in tears. She's like, yeah, because my teeth and da da da. And I was just kind of listening to her interaction before she came to me with that lady. And I was like, oh, and it really actually made me feel comfortable with the way that the conversation when she wasn't too aggressive, because you get a lot of those physicians and stuff that can be aggressive, especially with elderly people, because they just have this thing where elderly people just don't know what they want. They don't know how to make their decisions. They don't
Hmm.
know what's supposed to be done. I noticed that a lot of when you go into these medical facilities that they do that to these elderly people, and it
Hmm.
bothers me. And
They
but the
frustrated with him and very short.
Right. And she really
Hmm.
just sat there and calmed the lady down. She was just like, it's gonna be okay. She sat there, and it kind of took her a while to come over to me because she was trying to calm her down. And she didn't rush her. She didn't say, okay, this is what we're gonna do. So I gotta go. It was very calm. And so basically, when time she came to me at my first visit, I was like, and I'm terrified of dentists. I hate dentists. I would avoid the hell out of dentists. But
Hmm.
it's the time she got to me, I was just like more settled and like just I was calm. I
Hmm.
and my anxiety wasn't even up from when I first walked in there and they set me in that chair, man. My anxiety was on high. I just knew they was gonna do some stuff to hurt me.
Yeah.
But I was at a calm and I listened and she talked and she sat and spent that time. So yeah, it really, I don't know.
I mean, it makes a difference, especially in that industry. The dentist that I was having, like he is this thing where if they don't feel like your insurance is good enough for them, or
Mhm,
sometimes it's not even your insurance, the fact that you're a black person.
mhm,
Um, when I went to the second dentist, she said she has had so many people come from that particular office because all they wanted to do take your teeth out, give you dentures.
mm,
And she was like, sir, you are too young for them to be pulling your teeth out.
mm.
That's probably what happened to that older lady. They probably convinced her to get her teeth out, and now she has to probably get them redone. because they're, your teeth grow. I mean, if you don't have teeth, your gums are still growing or shrinking, or they call them spindles or something like that, where like a bone may be growing
Yeah.
out, and
Yeah.
it was uncomfortable for. But
Right.
yeah, yeah. So I've really, and I know a lot more doctors are happening, but we need them to be in our areas. I know it's so convenient for them to get paid more and all that because of how much they owe and probably, their tuition and stuff like that.
Tuition. Oh my God. That
Yeah,
goes
but
back to
and
inflation.
that's why they normally go to the big white institutions because they can get that cleared faster.
My
But
kids
we
actually
need
had
them in our
a
communities.
my kids, I took them to their first dentist appointment and for being here, not first dentist.
Hmm.
They take care of their teeth, but this was their new dentist here, and it's a black doctor, and I didn't even know that because the name was really weird until
Hmm.
I came in, and it was a black doctor. And matter of fact, I think he went to a HBCU, but he was just so calm and he was really cool. I like him so far.
Hmm.
Little David doesn't like him because he still has adamant that he want these braces, and any dentist that tell him he don't need braces don't know what they're doing. So that's
He could
David.
probably get the clear Invisalign. They probably give that to him because that's more
So
retainer style
David is
than the
that's
regular
just
basis.
David. That's just little David's preference. Is any dentist that we go to that's not telling me that he need that's not recommending that he need braces. I said, well, your dentist did. He said it's not your teeth are not bad, but if you prefer and if it's his preference, like if he feels just for that comfort, we can certainly look into it, but it's not
Well,
necessary.
Davis
And
might get a
so
job expensive as them damn braces are.
he is just in
He
his
might. He might. I mean, they may say to him because that's what was said to me at one point. I didn't need braces, but they gave me retainers just to
right,
keep the shape of my teeth in line. But
right.
speaking of black people in white spaces,
Ooh.
um,
Abdur Rahman, Jabria Scott, Stephanie Uck, Asa Abdur Rahman.
now let me tell you the black mother that I had.
Would have
My
walked up
black
there.
mother would have walked up there
That's what I was just thinking.
and she would have went in that basket
I was
and
just
she would have
thinking.
got my diploma and she would have called my name
I
and she
was
would have given me my diploma and then she would have
thinking.
went to go sit down.
I was literally Nate. You was speaking, and as soon as I seen that lady
Mhm.
drop that diploma in that basket, it kicked in. I said, my mother would have walked up there.
Now I'm gonna tell you this. I added this one this morning. The comments that I saw from us when there's other cultures, I don't expect nothing from them. And I have a tendency of expecting more from us. But when I see us saying she should have all she had to do was stand up there for 10 minutes and act the right way.
No, you didn't hear the whole video though. The whole video was people was talking doing period and they was doing everything. And when it was her turn, they
Yep.
took and put it in the basket. She made that girl said that. They didn't listen to the whole video. She
Yep.
said everybody was doing something as they are, as you've seen 1,000
Hmm.
of graduation
Yeah.
videos. People are doing flips across the stage every now. Let me ask you a question. If that was an all-white school and them white boys did like they be doing, like doing cartwheels and flips and
Hmm.
screaming, yeah, and all that stuff, tell me that woman wouldn't have handed them their diploma.
She
That's
would
what
have she
I'm
would have she would have given them their diploma and rushed them off the stage at least. Now I'm at most. Now, because I've spent time in I feel like I spent time in the penitentiary because I've spent time at white schools, both for middle school and high school, private schools, and I've seen like I didn't graduate from high school, like traditionally, like walk across the stage. Um, and it was very racially motivated, but at that time, I don't. My mother was going through things and didn't want to fight, And at the time, I didn't care. Now, for me, missing senior prom and graduation was, I feel it. I've been a, I've been a proctor at proms and graduations, and I don't even like going to people graduations because I missed mine. And
Mm.
it affected me in college as well because I didn't want to go.
Mm.
And it is a strange thing that we keep putting our children in these white institutions for the better education, understanding that, but understanding what your child has to sacrifice for that better education in the day-to-day environment of those schools.
I remember my mother had told me when I was living in North Carolina and my little sister was going to IND when she
Hmm.
started going there. It was her first or second year going there. And Jessica had decided she wanted to sew in, but she wanted just a little bit of blonde highlight in her sewing. She was getting sewn, regularly. My mother was having her hair done regularly. Jessica always had good hair, but she decided she wanted a little bit of blonde sewing. And my mother said that she had actually got called to they don't call it the principal office, they call it something else.
The
And
headmaster.
yeah, the headmaster's office,
Hmm.
because that was one of their handbook regulations. You can't have color. But Jessica's argument was like, half of these girls in here ain't really blondes. Half of these white girls
Mm.
are blonde. And she got in trouble for that because she made that statement to that damn nun.
Mm.
And that's why they ended up calling my mother, because she made that statement. She was like, so and so was just a redhead. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, she
Hmm.
just had black hair last week. So how am I any different? That's one little fire girl. I can say my little sister, she will speak up and she will speak out. And she ended up getting in trouble because they ended up calling my mother. But that was her
Yeah.
argument. Like, you can see in their roots that they ain't really
Yeah.
blondes. But why am I the one being, being forced to say, in school suspension or whatever they called it? Why am I the one being
Hmm.
and I
They
have to,
called it jug.
right? And I gotta take my daggone hair out. It was
Hmm.
it was it was
I know middle school, definitely middle school. It's called jug, justice under guard. That's their form of detention.
Mhm.
And I mean, I started growing facial hair in like the end of the fourth grade year, going into fifth grade year. So it would, like, if I don't shave for a week, I got a beard. And so even as a young kid, like I would get my facial hair, the lower facial hair I had, cut off every week when I would get my hair cut. And there would be times where, my mother may didn't have it that week. So my facial hair started growing out. My sideburns have always been very thick and long. And I would get in trouble at those schools because my sideburns came longer than under my ear. Your sideburns couldn't go longer than your ear. Your hair couldn't touch your back. And it was definitely different rules for the black kids, for the Hispanic kids, for the Asian kids. For it was different rules because as a Hispanic kid or a white kid, you can come in there with all this grease in your hair and your
Mhm.
hair slicked back, or like you said, spiked up. You know how they put the little gel and they spike it up.
Right.
I remember me and a young man came to school one time. I had twisties and he had cornrows. You would have thought we brought a gun to school. They made this crazy announcement on the announcement system. Uh, One, they called out names. Our whole names come to the office. They then made an announcement after they called out names saying the following hairstyles are not permitted in school. Now,
Mhm.
mind you, me and this person has our hair cut like this or hair done like this.
Mhm.
And they had a problem with me before. I had a high top fade before that. I got in trouble for the high. Like, it is, our grooming is crucial to us as black people, like how we wear our hair, and it wasn't like he had like long, crazy braids. He had really neat, small, what they call them, straight backs.
Yeah.
And it looked like his mother twisted all of them together in a ponytail and twisted them and knotted them so they did not
So she made him
hang
look
over
really
his shoulder.
hair. So she made it look really nice.
Right. And he would let them out when school was out.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I just had the little twisties going straight back. Like if you looked at my hair, because my hair used to be so thick, you couldn't even really tell unless you were up on me because they were getting frizzy after just a couple days.
Right.
And it was just the biggest to do about stuff like this. And I'm sitting there like, what? But we have to be mindful sending our children to these schools because they may get a better quality of European education. But one, they're not learning about who they are.
I was
They're not
going
learning anything about their own culture.
taking your
And
culture.
right, and they're being made to fit into a standard of, those schools were considered college preparatory schools.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is a crazy term, right? Because
Right.
what are the other children preparing for at the other schools?
Right.
And so in both of those school systems, I never had a uniform. I had a dress code. So you had to adhere to dress code. All the black kids would come to school with Eastlands on. Remember Eastlands or Lugs, or we couldn't wear any of those types of shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just we keep putting our children in these environments and not understanding how our children are coming home different
Right.
because they're being subjected to racism
And
and
stripped
oppression
of their
at
culture.
very young ages.
And stripped of their culture.
And stripped of their culture, and not even just culture, but just a demeaning perception of who they're supposed to be. Like, I can't wear my hair, but you didn't say this little essay over here couldn't spike his hair up with all that gel.
Mm-hmm.
Or, Tommy over here has his hair slicked back, with his little curl in the front, but you're
Mm-hmm.
not saying anything about them. But me with my hot side fade or my ethnic hairstyles, I could not do that. So I don't even know what women went through because I went to all boys schools. I don't even know what the girls went through, but I'm sure it wasn't anything better. I'm
Right.
sure it wasn't. But
But
that graduation was triggering to me.
the thing with that though, the other thing with that, especially going to those Catholic schools, is how do you have a problem with like hair color and things like that when just the uniform overall as a female is attracting of predators?
Yeah, yeah.
Look at your just uniform overall, the women, the girls
Hmm.
uniform. That in
Yeah.
itself is attractive of.
Very oppressive.
It's crazy.
But it's a standard that they're trying to, portray. But I really tell people to second guess um, sending their children to schools. And I regretted, I wanted to go to Friends, but
Oh yeah,
Curly, I remember Archbishop
send me
Curly
to
giving me more money to come.
my
But
mother.
Friends was more, you said what?
I said we might have known each other because that's where I was supposed to go to Friends, but we moved.
See?
I was
We
supposed
would have known each other for a long time, yo. But I wanted to go to it because my friend Darren, he didn't have a dress code. They had real black parties, like they had a black union,
Yeah.
and it was just that this school just gave me more money.
I was supposed
And
to go
Friends
to
cost a
Friends.
lot of money to go to.
Yep, I was supposed to go to Friends in middle school, but I acted a daggone fool. I cried and everything. I was like, oh, I'm gonna be
And you would have had
the
the
only one.
best time because the students were real there. Not to say they didn't have their issues, but my
Yeah.
alternative was either going to Loyola or to Curly, and I hated both choices.
Mm-hmm.
But
And then
speaking about choices, this
this
last
is the
story.
last topic. I was gonna say this is the last one.
But even black men who are not famous, who are not legends, who are not icons like yourself, we don't talk.
We ain't allowed to show no weakness, brother. And that's one of the most traumatic things in the world. A black man that might actually need some help. He might really need some help. It's challenging for you to even bring yourself to a place of comfort to call someone to tell them that you really need some help and ask for it. And not be afraid that somebody is going to take that situation that you're going through and exploit that shit to embarrass you or humiliate you. So
we walk alone.
You definitely, majority of the time, walk alone.
Yeah, I try to sneak these topics in to this show particularly because you're both mothers with a son or sons. But it's definitely I'm not saying we need to put women and women issues to the side, but we have to figure out how to effectively address these topics because being a man myself, going through very not knowing, and help could be not just mental health. Help could be, hey man, like I'm short on my rent this month. Can you help me just figure out how to do it? Not give me the money, because most men are real prideful in that way as well. But I don't know what to do. Money not adding up, or my baby mother. I'm getting like just help in general. Men are feeling like they can't. I have a friend now, just don't know how to ask for help. And I'd be trying to help that person, but it's just hard to even get them to a space of saying, hey, I need help, or to even accept help.
I run into that problem, particularly with one of my artists, because, as a label, you're the backing. When you take on an artist, you're the backing, you're the money, you're the person that's kind of, just kind of fronting everything. And we have one artist, I have to pull teeth. And he's like, it's how I was raised. I was man of my house. It was him and his mother. His father died at a young age. And he's like, I've been taking care of things for so long as a man. And it's like, but we're a label. And he's like, I know. You're going to kill me, boss lady. I know. And so that's what I was saying at the beginning of the show. After BlackRoses had sent the message, he was right on me, and it threw me off because he was like, all right, listen, I'm going in the studio. So that means he really is at a point where, yes, I'm finally ready to accept that I need my back end. Because at first it was just like, yeah, I'm with FMG, but he pretty much just kept throwing, taking care of everything on the front end. And then we'll find out later on, like, yeah, I paid this and like, when did you tell us this? I went and bought these beats, but when did you tell us this?
But I'm gonna tell you, in some of those cases, that's true. But a lot of the other cases, he can't do it anymore. And that passion may still be so strong that it humbles him.
Right.
It humbles the person.
And
they're forced to. It's a humbling feeling to receive help. And because a lot of times people like that, like myself, we get into confrontations. And and the other person like, bitch, I'm sitting here trying to help you. But it doesn't look that way, because we've had a lot of instances where people stepped into quote unquote help and they really wanted to control you.
Oh, say it again.
That's a lot of us fight that. We fight that feeling because it's not fun. You're supposed to be a man, and the things that the toxic definition of that term is overshadow. Oh, you don't live alone? You got roommates? You ain't no real man. Oh, you living at home with your mother? You ain't no real man.
And probably got a roommate herself.
Yep. Yep. It's a meme that goes around where a man, it looked like he's picking her up for a date, and she saw, as soon as she get in the car, she saw going down the list. You live alone? How much money you make? You got your own house? And she's like, oh, you live around here? Mind you, he picked her up from the same complex that she lived in. You live in these complexes? She stayed with her mom, did not have a real job, didn't know what she wanted. and demanded those things from him. So imagine, and I know I driving home. Me and BlackRoses be going at it, but there are expectations that are put into both men and women, and how we're supposed to live and how we're supposed to be. You know, I've been holding on to an apartment for over 10 years that I did not like. I didn't like it only because I just wanted to maintain that and maintain it. I remember before I moved into this apartment, I had to go back home and stay with my mother for 3 months. Now, mind you, my mother was in the hospital. She had just had a stroke. So God just made a way for me to be there. But he broke me in that process because I was like, I got to get the fuck up out of here. I was counting the days that she was in intensive care when she went to, they transfer him to therapy. I said, I got the moment I felt comfortable with my mother walking up and down a flight of stairs by herself, I got the fuck up out of there. And it was a mental thing for me. And I was like, Nate, like, what's wrong with you? Chill. But I couldn't chill. Even saying that to myself, I couldn't chill because what a man is supposed to look like. It was, that was the first time I was ever depressed in my life because I felt helpless.
And that's something that, unfortunately, my husband battled with for so long because the same situation that I described with our other artists. He has always been, his mother was an alcoholic. So he has always been the caretaker of the home, like working government job from the time he was 18. He's been working a government job and basically giving her his whole check, other than when he had to pay for his car note. Gave her the whole check every time and only just taking a couple of dollars because he knew at the end of the day, once she paid the bills, at least he was gonna get a meal, because his mother cooked every day. So he know at least he was gonna get a meal. So it didn't really matter that he didn't eat at work or he didn't have the money to buy lunch at work and things like that. And he got in that pattern. It is something that he battled with. And for me to play, I really had to, not to say that it was my duty to pull it out, but just to give him that understanding that, hey, I didn't grow up that same way. The way my household works, family takes care of each other. So to the point where my mother started to ask me like, well, what's wrong with him? Is he okay today? Or what's going on with him? Because you could tell it showed itself in the present, not just the inside where he may have thought he was masking it in, but you could actually tell.
It was starting to seep out,
And so to the point where she started, coming and physically like, come on, I just want to give you a hug for the day. And that's my mother. She ain't gotta do just giving him hugs and stuff. We are, and just even her sitting down having those conversations. Listen, we are family. We're here. Whatever you need, we're here to help you. We are family, so just it took him to now. And it's different. His attitude is different. Like I said, when I was going through whatever I was going through yesterday, for him to actually come in, it took a very long time for him to get in the space. But he was like, I'm not even depressed no more. And we still not where we are because we're still staying, right now with your parents, because we had some things that went on, that we had to take, allow them to help us. Now we're moving forward. And that's why I said that's where everything is just starting to boil in, because there's so much that we're trying to get done. We're now back in the ability to be able to, move back and have our own business on that. But the fact that we're still not there in his attitude from where it started at is
But see, a couple things have happened. One, you've shown him another option of what family could be. Not to say it's better or worse, but you've shown him another option that's healthier for him. Right. Secondly, it's the idea of you saw things in him despite what he may have felt or what he saw, that you gave him honestly saying you gave him a chance. And there are not a lot of people out there that are willing to do that. Especially Black women want you to come to them packaged already with a nice fancy bow, expensive, dollar tag on it. Like just It is it's such a space. And one thing that has to happen is I think we have to realize that helping somebody does not mean giving them money.
It doesn't.
We have to realize that because the first thing when we see somebody in trouble, especially a black man, I remember going through a space when I was in my mid-20s, and I remember breaking down in a church. We was having a church meeting, and I don't know what, my mouth just got to be water, and it just everything was coming out. And I remember the first thing that people would say to me, look, I ain't got no money. I don't, but I just pray that everything work out. And sometimes that discourages a person. Not the fact that you can't give them money, but that's what you think I'm
That's
after.
what you think. That's what I was going to say.
And it just, teaching that to people where we got to start helping each other out because nobody else out here is. And the people who are looking like they're helping us that don't look like us is really harming us.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing things for, grants and, to fit a business model, but they're not really helping people.
At all.
They not. Look at all these, drug centers. They're not doing anything for people, but making them weaker.
Right. It's a front for what they want you to think they are doing. That's all it is.
But yeah, so this has been an interesting show. We finally got through the topic.
Yes.
Finally got through the topic.
It's like, well, not by myself, but with Nate.
Right. But I think, overall, especially a lot of these topics deal with, we have to find that unity within our own culture and figure out how to deal with us better, how we communicate, how we support each other, just differently because we're not getting better as a community. There are people who are breaking out that is gaining wealth but at what cost? How are they mentally? They got the bag, but where are they at mentally?
And particularly black women in the name of Father's Day Sunday, stop being so hard on our men if they are deserving and they are trying and they are doing something. Stop being so hard on them because a lot of them that's in prison right now is because of your mouth.
And if not for them, for your children.
Absolutely.
Because you don't know what that level of encouragement will help them to become for your children. Because if they're good, your children will be good.
Absolutely.
Just do better. Just choose better, do better, be better. You will get better. And that's I can't explain it no other way. Just do better by each other.
Absolutely.
Just really do better. But happy Father's Day to the fathers out there. Not to the mothers who think they are fathers, but to the actual fathers, good, bad, or indifferent fathers. But just start somewhere with some level of encouragement because you picked them, you laid down with them.
And if you got a problem with what Nate said, go see him, not me. I ain't say nothing. But,
I said it. You can 10 toes down with it. I said it. If you look beyond the size of his penis or the size of his wallet or the niceness of his car or how fresh he was, if you look beyond those things, you would have found yourself with the person you wanted. But you wanted the penis.
Absolutely.
You wanted the money.
Well, happy Father's Day to everybody. I hope everybody ends up having a great Father's Day, getting everything that they wanted. I know particularly my husband this year. Yeah, them kids. We had a budget that we went well over. But so he's going to be really happy this Father's Day. I hope everybody else has a great Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all my uncles, my stepfather, my husband. Don't forget to tune in next week. BlackRoses will be back next week. Hopefully, BlackRoses will be back next week. So thank you guys for tuning in. If you want to become a sponsor, we are always still looking for sponsors because we try to get this show off and on the road. We try to do live shows somewhere. Hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, or in our email podcast at I.Am.She.com. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this show. I think it was a lot of valuable information and insight. So I think this will be a really great episode to share, especially because me and Nate was on here and we was just vibing, them Gemini vibes. So don't hate on that.
Please don't. And it's not over yet. We still got a couple days.
So y'all have a great Saturday. Talk to y'all next Saturday.
Artist Exchange.
The Artist